It does. And what I like about you is you're for abolishing the income tax. You're
Correct.
against the United Nations income tax, which they're going to try to put on us in about 2 years.
The United Nations is fundamentally a dictators club for these people around the world, and I don't see why we should be supporting that kind of a thing.
That's where you differ with Lois Capps. She supports the United Nations. She voted for funding for it. And what's also interesting, she voted to fund troops in over 100 countries, but she's against the war in Iraq, and that seems to be inconsistent to me.
Well, she supported the war in Bosnia when President Clinton was bombing people over there.
So if it's a Democratic president, it's okay to bomb people, but if it's a Republican president, she's against it.
That's what it looks like to me, I have to say.
Well, the solution for that is to vote for Jim Hill. And I got to tell you the truth, Jim, I already voted, and I voted for you. But Beth, I'll still give you an equal time to come on and defend yourself. But I look at this as Newsweek cover, why they hate us. The reason they hate us, people, is because we're killing them. If we would stop killing them, maybe they wouldn't hate us. Gee, I don't understand why we just kill people and bomb them, and we wonder why they hate us, Jim.
Well, the U.S. stations troops in more countries around the world than not. Again, I ask, how would we feel if the Cubans decided to put an Air Force base in Texas? We wouldn't like it. And basically, when our troops are stationed in other people's countries, they don't like it either. And all it is our politicians trying to enforce their will on other people around the world. Consider also the mess of foreign aid. There's hatreds in the world. People can't get along for thousands of years. And obviously, we've tried it in one presidential term or by sending some old retired Republicans and Democrats to these areas. You cannot solve these problems overnight. We give $1 billion a year to the Palestinians. We give $2 billion to the Egyptians. We give $3 billion to the Israelis. Before your tax dollars went into that area, those people were throwing sticks and stones at each other. And today they can afford real modern weapons and they can become dangerous. That's your tax dollars at work. We need to abolish foreign aid and get out of that area entirely. Only target the people who were guilty for the September 11th attacks.
That's a good point. Target specific criminals, not kill whole nations and bombing weddings and that sort of thing. The thing I found missing in President Bush's infamous speech is he forgot to mention that we know Saddam has biological weapons and chemical weapons because the United States government gave them to Saddam Hussein when we wanted him to kill Iranians, and they had a 10-year war with Iran, and we gave them all those horrible, horrible weapons. And now we're going to be facing those same weapons if we send our troops over there. I think this war is a bad idea. If any of you are watching, go down on Saturday at 11 o'clock to Santa Barbara and join the anti-war parade down there. Show President Bush not everybody is gun crazy like he is. Not everybody wants to go out and just slaughter people. The Constitution doesn't say that we get to make war on somebody because they might attack us, does it?
No, it doesn't. At the same time, though, we have to face the reality that our country has given things like smallpox to people like Saddam Hussein. And again, I'm not a pacifist per se. We do need to defend ourselves and take out the people that are responsible for September 11th. We can't allow an attack like that to go unanswered, but the proper answer to that is to go after the guilty parties and not wholesale war against innocent civilians everywhere.
Very good. Well, Jim, were you asked to be in the debate with Beth Rogers and Lois Capps, your opponents?
Actually, I can't answer that because my address changed, and it's entirely possible they tried to contact me and I wasn't available for comment since I just recently moved. It was a bad time to do that.
Bad time to move, Jim. But I hope they include you in that debate on Channel 3. If they don't, I think it's a shame because here's a candidate that's for lower taxes, for bringing the troops home, defending America, and he's against killing innocent people with this war on terrorism. At the same time, he's for property rights and restoring property rights. He's pro-gun. He's pro-individual ownership of gun. And you can't find that in Lois Capps and Beth Rogers. Neither one of them make that sum. I know. I guess the reason I'm non-biased and I'm wearing the Hill for Congress shirt is because I realize this is the only guy worth voting for. A vote for Lois Capps is a vote for endless war. A vote for Beth Rogers is a vote for faster endless war. Sooner, quicker, more, kill more people. And I just don't see that as benefiting America.
It seems to me that their policies are to continue funding failed federal programs like the Department of Education.
Oh.
I'm on record calling for this department that steals $20 billion a year from our kids. Let's abolish those bureaucrats, put that out of the government, and return to local control of schools. We don't need to be funding $20 billion of federal middlemen that are parasites on our kids. We can no longer afford those kind of expenditures. Let's end the federal Department of Education. You're going to find that Capps and Rogers both want more federal money for education. What that means is more federal money in bureaucrat pockets, out of your pocket and into the pocket of bureaucrats. I support returning that money to the taxpayers and in equal part increasing funding for school. We can have more money for schools and less taxes at the same time. It can be done by getting rid of those federal middlemen.
Very good, Jim. That's excellent. Well, you got my vote already because I did vote absentee ballot, Jim. And I know you got one vote, and if it doesn't show up on my precinct count, I'm going to be real upset. Just joking, people out there in the elections office. Just joking. I know you're going to count
People
that.
in the elections office do a
Yeah,
good job for us.
They do. This county is pretty good. I'm just worried about the touchscreen voting machines which they're implementing, and I hope we never get them here. They're a bad idea. And by the way, Congress just passed a bill. I hope they don't have money to support it, saying the states got to uniformly raise voting standards and update to modern equipment. I'm afraid they're going to go to these touchscreen things. But Jim, it's been
no
great having you
accountability
back here
there.
on second thought. Any closing comments you want to give?
Well, I know you're going to have a judicial candidate on soon. I hope you'd ask questions about tort reform, things like that. A lot of the political parties support, they've divided us against ourselves and put the attorneys in control. Things like medical costs are out of control. Litigation is driving up the cost of medical care in this country. Tort reform is absolutely essential. And we can no longer afford to elect attorney politicians that put in self-serving rules to the expense of our seniors and the rest of us. So tort reform is something that we need to be concerned about, and hopefully you might get some good commentary about that.
Okay, well, that's it from James Hill. Thank you very much, James
Thanks
Hill.
again for having me.
People, I want to remind you, you've got 3 choices for Congress here in the 23rd District. You've got Jim Hill, then you've got Jim Hill, and then you've got Jim Hill. And there's Beth Rogers and Lois Capps also running, but they don't count because they're going to waste your money. And that's my unbiased opinion. With that, I'm going to give you another clip of the debate